Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.
Welcome in to First Pitch, Wager Talk's premier MLB betting show. We're going over the Tuesday night MLB card. We got 4 games in Asian baseball play and best bets at the end. I am your host, Drew Martin, joined by Dave Koken and Steve Merrill of WagerTalk.com. Guys, remember, it's $2 Tuesday at Wager Talk. You can get Robbie Vino's top play discounted for only $2. Check out the website. Great day to do so, WagerTalk.com. But first here, Dave Koken, number 1 MLB handicapper at WagerTalk.com last season. Dave, welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning to you.
Thank you, Drew. And talk a little hockey for a moment. Swept last night, up to 71 net units ahead for the season. I'm now the I don't know if this is new or not, but I'm the number 1 all-time profit earner in hockey at Wager Talk, and we've got a great special for the playoffs. 30 days of my NHL, and that'll be playoffs, obviously, which gets started this week. Regular price, $149 is pretty good. But if you use the code DC99 at checkout, you're going to get 30 days of my hockey for $99. Works out to $3.30 a day. And just been absolutely killing it in the NHL. So take advantage of that. It's available right now. Baseball plays up as well. Let's have a good day.
Let's get after it. Steve Merrill, second, but certainly not least here. Steve, welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning to you, buddy.
Thanks, Drew. And Dave mentioned hockey, so I'll mention NBA real quick. 21-point underdog winner covered by 28 last night, now in a 75% NBA run over the past week. And this is the final week of the regular season, so stay tuned. The playoffs start next week. I still think the NBA playoffs, along with baseball, is the best moneymaker in all of sports for consistency and long-term profit. NBA postseason's always done well for me. Baseball's done well as also, I had a snow out yesterday, guys, a snow out in baseball, but I did win the free play on the site. So a nice 2-0 sweep with the free play in baseball and the NBA best bet. Got an NBA best bet right now for Tuesday night. Also a possible baseball play right after the show. I'm waiting for a starting pitcher announcement. We might have another 2-for-1 special for Tuesday, WagerTalk.com.
All right, Steve. Well, guys, we got 4 games we're breaking down starting 7 o'clock Eastern and going all the way through the late night action. So stay tuned for this. First game up, we got Philadelphia and Washington, talking the Phillies and the Nationals here, 7:05 Eastern. Looks to be about 10 miles per hour wind blowing in from left center here in our nation's capital, Dave. We're seeing Anderson versus Fetty. It looks like the Nationals as high as minus 130 favorites now, sitting around minus 125 at most shops, Dave. Total of 9. You interested in getting involved with the Phillies and Nationals tonight, Dave?
No, this is a definite pass for me. A couple of notes on the game, though. Eric Fetty, if you look at his numbers in his last start, they weren't particularly good, but he actually threw the ball really well. I was watching that game, and I thought his stuff was pretty good. So that might play up against the Phillies team that hasn't done a lot on the road this year. 83 WRC plus on the road against righties, which is well below average. Nationals offense obviously is nothing special, but I would actually give Fetty an edge over Chase Anderson, who basically can't get through 5 innings for Philadelphia, which brings that bullpen in early. So I guess I'd lean to the Nationals, but it's not a game I really considered.
Yeah, full card here, Dave. Nothing to force. We do have Anthony in the chat box saying he's fading the Phillies today. Steve, what are you thinking in our nation's capital tonight?
Well, it's juiced a little bit to the under here. It's a total of 9, a very key number, obviously, in baseball. And it's understandable because both of these teams, you look at the Nationals, they've scored 3 runs or less now in 6 of their last 7 games. Phillies have scored 2 runs or less in 2 of their last 4. But the Phillies had 19 runs in those other 2 games. And the Nationals did have 11 runs in the one game in which they didn't score 3 or less. So it's kind of been feast or famine for these teams this season. And with, 2 mediocre pitchers on the mound, I think this could be a breakout game for the offenses here. So it's a fairly high total if you look at overall numbers for the season. But these 2 starting pitchers, I think, are vulnerable, and it's juiced to the under. So we're getting the over 9, even money, even plus money in some locations. I think that might be the best way to play it.
Steve, coming back to you for the second game here, the premier matchup of the night in the AL East on ESPN primetime game here, 7:10 Eastern, talking the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. We're getting Montgomery versus, I'm seeing Patino here listed as the Tampa pitcher. Of course, in Tropicana here in Tampa, 8 being the total, -120. That's the Yankees, actually in St. Petersburg, Florida tonight. Steve, what are you thinking with the Yankees and Rays tonight?
Well, on the surface, you're seeing the Yankees as a road favorite, a $1.20 road favorite, and Patino's got better overall numbers, but obviously a very small, limited sample of just a few innings as a starter. So I'm not going to read too much into that. And in a big game situation, I prefer to have the experience on the mound here with Montgomery. We've talked about the Yankees many times on the show over the past few weeks. They got off to that terribly slow start. I kept saying we're not trying to catch that falling knife. They were considered to be the third favorite overall, the favorite to win the AL, the third favorite overall, behind the Padres and Dodgers to win the World Series. So you did expect them to turn things on at some point. As I've also said here on the show, when they turn things on, that might be the buy sign. Now 7-2 their last 9. Pitching has been solid all season, but they're starting to get a little bit more offense. Not a great offense still, but better at times. Tampa, meanwhile, has been very weak offensively this season at times as well. I just think this sets up well for the Yankees. It's a focused spot, big divisional game, and I'll lay the short juice here with the Yankees on the road minus $1.20.
Yeah, better bullpen there with the Yankees. Dave, are you interested in getting involved here in Florida tonight?
No, this is another game I'm not going to get involved in, but some notes on the game. Montgomery is not a guy I trust on the road. He's better at Yankee Stadium than he is at home, than on the road. But he is facing a Tampa lineup that, as Steve mentioned, is not always all that good offensively. Patino, I'm not sure how long he'll pitch. That's the difficult thing with handicapping Tampa Bay games is Kevin Cash never really lets you know what he's going to do. And it's confusing for us as handicappers. It's also confusing for the other team, which is part of his magic. He is very difficult to figure out in terms of exactly what he's going to do in games. I do like Patino, not Rick Patino. This is not spelled the same, not the same guy. So I maybe give a little edge to Tampa. I do, however, think that the Yankees are going to be very focused for this series. They've had a lot of trouble with this team, and if there's a team they really want to beat right now, I've got to think it's the Rays. So that makes me lean a little bit at the Yankees. I think if I had to play something in this game, I might go with the under. The Rays' offense against lefties at times is not real good. For the season, they're only 90 WRC plus against lefties, which is below average. And I can see Montgomery doing reasonably well here for a few innings. That's all you want. Get a couple times through the lineup. So my lean would be on the under first 5 in this game. I think the pitchers might have a little control over the hitters early on. We'll see what happens once the bullpens get involved.
Yeah, I like it, Dave. Good analysis there. We got 2 games left, guys. Asian baseball play and best bets to follow. Heading a little bit out west here, the state of Texas, LA Angels and Houston Astros. Next game up in the 8 o'clock Eastern time slot here. We get Ohtani versus McCullers here, Dave. Good pitching matchup. -155 is as high as I'm seeing the Astros right now, so they've taken some money throughout the morning here, Dave. 8.5 being the total in Houston. You liking anything Angels and Astros tonight, Dave?
Oh, here's the problem with Ohtani. He is so wild early in games. And against the Houston offense, which is really good, that could be especially good at home. I mean, the Astros numbers at home are absurd. They've got a 125 WRC plus at home on the season. So this team rakes at this ballpark. And if Ohtani has those control problems again early on, you are looking at a potential big inning. Once he settles in, he's been really good. If you look at his OPS against, first time through the order, it's 787, I believe it is. Can I read my writing? 737. Second time through the lineup, 257, which is incredible. So once he finds his command, he absolutely dominates. So if you're going to get Ohtani, you better get him early. I think you might figure out where I'm heading here, this would be more toward a live betting situation. If Ohtani's sharp early, look for him to stay sharp. And in that case, the Angels probably have an edge here because McCullers has reverse splits. He's been great first time through the lineup. not so great second time through the lineup. So this is a situation where if Ohtani gets off to a good start, I think the Angels are going to get the lead in this ball game, and then you can play around with all kinds of things. As far as the overall handicap on the game is concerned, I mean, the team offensive numbers clearly point to the over in any game between the Angels and Astros because both offenses are really capable. But you've got two very good pitchers here to offset that. So I can't really come up with anything on the side. I think that's the way I'd look in this game, is to maybe grab a piece of the Angels on a live bet if they fall behind early, on a live bet if Ohtani is sharp early, because I think they will get to McCullers second time through the lineup. So you might be able to get a nice lead with the Angels. And at that point, you can do some hedging or maybe end up in situations where you've got plus money on both sides. But for a straight game selection, I have no idea.
Steve, coming to you here, Dave made a lot of good points. I agree with him on the total towards the over 8.5 here. Both lineups top 5 against righties this season in MLB. So they've been smashing the handedness of the pitcher they're going to be facing tonight, Steve. I would look towards the over here, Hitter's Park as well. What are you thinking?
Yes, we have a consensus on the over. That's the way I'm going as well. And a couple things I'll point out. First of all, there's two of what I consider the sharpest books in the world. They're at 9+ now, 9+ money to the over. A lot of other books, the majority are still 8.5 juice to the over. So there's also a sharp lean, and I do think we'll see some 9s sooner than later by the time this game goes tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. So if you'd like that over, play the over 8.5 now on Tuesday afternoon as we're doing this show live, as I do think you're going to see more 9s out there. 9, of course, is a very key number. Ohtani, hey, look, it's hard to get excited about regular season baseball, 162 games, but Ohtani is someone to get excited about. A guy that's got 10 homers on the season has also got decent pitching numbers. The control's been a problem, as Dave said, but still a 2.4 ERA in his 4 starts. Mediocre 1.4 whip. And I look at that a little bit more, and that factors in the walks and the control issues. But still, remarkable what he is doing on a daily basis, and it's really hard not to root for him. A lot of debate at the National League should go to the DH, and here we have an American League guy that's one of the best hitters and pitchers on his own team. So it's hard not to root for that. Watched this game last night, as I do a lot of Angel games this year. Weird finish here. The Astros lose 5-4 at home. They get a 2-out double in the bottom of the 9th. And then the guy runs to third. It's a hard grounder to third. He probably gets the guy at first, but you got to at least make him try to get the play. And the guy gets tagged out going to third for some reason. It was a really weird way to end the game. And I don't think Houston was going to pull it out, but you never know. That throw might go awry and the game's tied. Houston did have 10 hits compared to just 9 for the Angels. And the Astros quietly have 9 hits or more in 5 straight games, 10 hits or more in 3 of those 5. And let's keep in mind, this is the fewest hits in a game ever in the last 150 years, 7.75. That just got bumped up a bit, Drew, in the last few games. It's now tied with 1908 for the fewest hits per game in Major League Baseball. So Houston is a capable offense, and they're hitting the ball well. And I look for this game to go over the 8.5 minus the juice, and I would play it sooner than later, as I think the 9s will start to appear in more books.
Yeah, looking towards the over 8.5 in Houston. Steve, you brought up 2 of the sharper books in the world. What 2 books were you referring to?
They're down in the Caribbean, so we better not say, because they're not the U.S. books. Let's just put it that way. Hey, that's a rhyme.
All right, next game up, we got the Miami Marlins and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pablo Lopez versus Madison Bumgarner. We're getting the lefty here, Bumgarner. Actually, his velocity has been up here, Steve. Minus 112 is what I'm seeing the Arizona Diamondbacks as the home favorite right now. Total of 8. Good pitching matchup here, Steve. What are you thinking with the Fish and D-backs tonight?
Yeah, the D-backs have been a bit of a play-on team for me. I think they were a little bit underrated coming into the season. We had expected the Dodgers and the Padres to be the powers in the West. The Giants have vastly overachieved. The D-backs did early as well. The Rockies, Dave and I both did the NL preview show here with you, Joe. We both used Rockies under 62.5. We thought they were going to be maybe the worst team in baseball. The D-backs have overachieved, but you got to be very careful, not only with Colorado, but also Arizona when using overall numbers, because they have very hitter-friendly home ballparks. And if you look at the D-backs this year, they're averaging almost 2 runs per game and batting over 50 points higher at home than on the road. And I think the road numbers are more indicative of a team's real offensive ability. So if you look at road numbers only, Miami, the better offense. You look at bullpen numbers, not even close. Miami, the much better bullpen this season. And then let's just look at the starting pitcher numbers. We've got an ERA of 4.9 versus 2.0 here. So you can make an argument you got the better pitching and the better hitting here as a slight dog. That's the things you look for with an underdog, and I think Miami has some value at plus money here for that reason.
Yeah, Dave, I agree with Steve. I mean, I was looking for ways to be on the fish, the better bullpen, the better starting pitching by my numbers, but their lineup looked clueless last night. They didn't look good at all, putting up any offense. Interested in your opinion, though, Fish and D-backs tonight, Dave.
Well, it's a little different. Pablo Lopez has better numbers than Madison Bumgarner, no question about that. But the Bumgarner numbers of late have been very good. He's figured out something, and he's commanding his pitches really well. So I've kind of put a line through the early starts for Bumgarner because I'm not saying he's all the way back to being Mad Bum, but he's throwing the ball well. And Lopez is not as good on the road as he is at home. He's also just not getting any run support. So that could be an issue for him here. The Diamondbacks had an absolutely awful last week in terms of their offense, but they get back home and showed some life last night, got some runs early, and made them stand up. It's a really tough game because I do like Lopez quite a bit. I've talked about him on a regular basis, but he still has to show that he can pitch away from Miami, which he hasn't done on a regular basis. And the Diamondbacks kind of look like one of those teams that are going to be a little bit on the streaky side this year. They go good for a little bit, then they go bad for a little bit. They went bad last week and went from being a game over 500 to about 4 games under 500. But they get home last night, and they'll be feeling good about themselves here because they had a good game last night. I think I lean to the Diamondbacks here. There's some good plays on the board today. I don't think this is one of them, but I'll give you an opinion on the Diamondbacks. When we get to the best bets, I'll give you a game that I'm actually on.
Best bets coming up at the end of the show. Guys, reminder, $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk.com, Robbie Vino's top play, discounted to just $2. Check out experts page, Dave Koken and Steve Merrill, plays up and available. We got Asian baseball play. Before we get to best bets, guys, we're going to throw it over to Tokyo Brandon for his either Korean baseball or Japanese baseball play of the night. Tokyo Brandon, take it away.
Tokyo Brandon here with today's quick pick in Asian baseball. The Hiroshima Carp are visiting the Yakult Swallows at Jingu Stadium, downtown Tokyo. The last 6 games these teams have gotten together, the games have all gone under. I don't really trust the bullpens, but we have 2 pretty good starting pitchers in Morishita and Taguchi. So in today's game, the line's not out yet. I expect the first 5 innings over under to be 3.5. I'm going to take the first 5 innings under 3.5 runs in the Hiroshima Carp Yakult Swallows game. That's the quick pick for today, guys. Thanks. I'll be back with more.
Thanks for that, Tokyo Brandon. You know, Dave and Steve, we're getting some chatter here in the chat box about the Twins and White Sox game tonight. I was thinking about throwing it in, but there wasn't a lineup late last night. Maeda and Cease are going 7.5 being the total. Minus 115 here, the White Sox. I was looking to get on the White Sox here, Dave. Did you have any quick opinions on the White Sox and Twins? It's Maeda versus Cease. I thought it was kind of a short number for the Sox.
I've got Maeda on hold right now because he was really struggling. But his last start, he looked like Kenta Maeda. And it's not a buy sign on 1 start, but it could be a buy sign on 2 starts. The thing I don't like about the Twins is the absence of Byron Buxton is absolutely enormous for this team.
Yeah.
They had Buxton and Cruz hitting back to back. You can't pitch around one because you got to face the other. But with Buxton out, I mean, if I'm the White Sox, I'm pitching around Cruz. I'm not giving him anything to hit. And I'm going to make somebody else that lineup beat me. And the rest of that lineup, quite frankly, isn't that good. Kepler has not performed up to snuff. The bottom of the order has been absolutely dismal. The White Sox just have too much offense for the Twins. I don't really trust Cease, but you know, you can't knock him to any extent. I mean, 632 OPS first time through the lineup, 612 second time through the lineup. Those are pretty good numbers. I think I'd have to lean to the White Sox here.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. And Steve, anything real quick on this game, Twins in Sox? The chat box asking here, Alex and company.
Yeah, Maeda, you know, off of back-to-back awful starts, as Dave referenced, he gave up 12 runs in just about 8.5 innings. So, you know, you see that strong bounce back, but you wonder, is something still wrong? And the other thing I'll point out real quick is Twins have been off for 2 days, and their offense was much better than the 3 runs scored on Sunday would seem to indicate, or Saturday rather. 13 hits, 16 runners left on base, and they had just 3 runs. So I don't know if the 2 days off will hurt or help, but a lot of uncertainty there, enough to keep me off that game as well.
I want just to add something. I think those stats that Steve just mentioned are indicative of the problems with this batting order. They're getting nothing out of they're getting nothing out of the bottom of the order. And all these guys do is strand runners. So this has been a regular thing with the Twins this year. They're a disappointing team because they've got kind of a clunky lineup right now, which is top loaded. But once you get past the 6-hitter, past the 5-hitter, basically, it's been easy outs. And that's been a real problem. Plus, their bullpen stinks.
Yeah, good point there, Dave. Guys, we do have best bets right now. Steve, let's go to you first. Guys, check out Steve Merrill, experts page, WagerTalk.com. NBA playoffs. He already said it's a great time to win, and Steve knows his association hoops here. Steve, where are you going for best bets MLB-wise tonight?
Yeah, once again, if you want that NBA best bet tonight, an outright underdog winner that covered by 28 points last night. Now a 75% NBA run continues with a strong best bet Tuesday night at WagerTalk.com, NBA. And now we're going to go to baseball here for a free play in this show. We touched on this game earlier, New York Yankees. A couple other tidbits I want to mention, though, is, we don't talk about revenge a lot in baseball, hardly ever during that long 162-game regular season, as I mentioned. But one angle I like to use with revenge isn't necessarily they're mad, they want to get revenge, they want to go out and hurt the other team. It's more that you ensure a focused effort. And when you have a 162-game season like this, and I use revenge in the NBA for the same reason with 81 games, is that if you get a Class A team in a focused spot, that always catches my attention. And I still think the Yankees, yes, they had a slow start. 7-2, though, their last time, as I mentioned, they're starting to play up to that potential, being the AL favorites. And this is a legitimate revenge spot. Not only did they get bumped from the playoffs last year, but they've lost 5 of 6 to Tampa in April, including getting swept at home the last 3 they played in April. They were not playing good baseball then. They're playing much better baseball now. We have a focused spot, and we get a very reasonable price. As I said earlier, I like the Yankees minus $1.20. And just to solidify, Drew Martin, I'm putting the hat on this time.
Yes. I like it. Bring in the props. Yankees hat, Steve Merrill on the Yanks, minus 120, guys. Great analysis there, Steve. Dave, that's a tough follow, man, but where are you going for best bets tonight?
I'll go to Fenway Park. The A's and Red Sox, Bassett versus Eovaldi. One of the things it's really the first thing I do when I start to break down the next day's schedule is to look at what pitchers do in terms of opposing OPS first 2 times through the order, because I'm playing first 5, so I want guys who are either strong or horrible first 2 times through the order. And if you look at Bassett versus Eovaldi, those numbers do favor Eovaldi. So an edge to Boston there. You get to the offensive numbers. Now, some of it's a little bit skewed because the Red Sox play an extremely hitter-friendly ballpark, and Oakland doesn't. But the Red Sox have really good offensive numbers. They've hit the ball really well all season, and they're in good form offensively right now, except for the last game they played basically against the Orioles when they got shut down by Jorge Lopez, of all people. Getting back home, I think the bats probably come alive. One other thing on Bassett versus Eovaldi. Bassett with the 3.70 ERA as opposed to 4.62 for Eovaldi. So you kind of look at that and say, well, there's an edge for the Oakland pitcher. But if you get into the analytics, you'll find that Eovaldi has pitched better than his ERA indicates. And Bassett hasn't pitched as well as his, he's pitched about the same as his analytic. On the analytics, I make his true ERA about 3.5, so he's actually pitched a little better. But Eovaldi has pitched a lot better than his base numbers would indicate. So I think there's some edges on the Boston side here. And I would go with the Red Sox, and I did go with the Red Sox to win the first 5 in this game. So that's a play, and I'll use it here as the best bet.
All right, I like it, Dave. Good luck tonight. And guys, I'll finish it off here. A tough follow from yesterday. I lost my best bet by double-digit run, so I'm looking to bounce back and then some in the last game on the card, 10:10 Eastern. We get the Seattle Mariners and the LA Dodgers, Buehler versus Kikuchi. Total of 7, Dodgers minus 225 favorites here, guys. And type of profile of bet here, we get a low total with a minus 225 favorite. Right off the bat, I'm going to look towards the underdog, mainly because the market's telling us runs are going to be at a premium, and we can get a big plus price here, plus 200 on the Mariners. Starting pitching-wise, Kikuchi, the Asian pitcher coming over, 29-year-old Japanese pitcher, and 7 innings, 7 Ks in each of his last 2 starts. The walks are down. Plus the fact, these Asian pitchers, sometimes a little bit quirky of a windup. Sure enough, in only 23 at-bats, 515 team OPS. The Dodgers versus Kikuchi, they've struggled against them. Buehler, on the other hand, miles per hour down 2 miles per hour from last season. 7 earned runs, 12 hits in each of his last 2 starts. Actually combined there in his last 2 starts, so he's not really throwing the ball very well. Plus the fact, guys, I have the Mariners ranked as my 9th best bullpen and the Dodgers 19th best bullpen. So 10 slots difference here in the later innings, advantage towards the Mariners. And last, certainly not least here, the Mariners are up 7 units, the Dodgers down 7 units on the season. So the market has been underpricing the Mariners and overpricing the Dodgers for all of those reasons. Mariners plus 200, risk 100 to win 200. So guys, that does it for best bets. For Dave Koken, Steve Merrill, I am Drew Martin. There you go. Best bets right there. Mariners plus 200. Steve Merrill, Yankees minus 120. Red Sox first 5 minus 130 for Dave Koken. So for Steve, Dave, I am Drew. Best of luck with your bets. Please smash the like button if you like the content, and feel free to leave a comment below if you're watching on replay. Best of luck with your bets, guys. Thanks for tuning in.